This is IGN. Atlus further refines its winning RPG formula for a powerful fantasy story. This is your IGN review of Metaphor ReFantazio by Michael Higham. What kinds of lessons do we learn from our favorite pieces of fiction? Are they simply a means for escapism and enjoyment, or can they also have a tangible impact on our lives? Having played nearly every RPG from developer Atlus, my answer to that last question is a resounding yes. Metaphor ReFantazio ponders these questions in both concrete and abstract ways through the lens of a politically charged fantasy RPG, further proving that there's real power in the stories games can tell. As familiar as it may feel at times, it also treads new territory with a sense of clarity in its message and an empathy that ripples through its harsh world. From its more intimate moments to grand gestures in its main story, Metaphor makes a loud and clear statement, one that is both relevant to our world today and a timeless examination of the best and worst parts of humanity. Without much pretense, you're put into the shoes of a young man in the cold-hearted kingdom of Uchronia, with the reigning king freshly murdered and his only son, whom you have an unexplained connection with, in a curse-bound coma. A magically driven election soon kicks off, as candidates compete for the open seat on the throne, yourself included. The inner workings of the election process and your role within it changes and evolves as the roughly 80-hour story unfolds, but this setup serves as a compelling drama that propels you through a land plagued with racism, inequality, poverty, religious extremism, and exploitation. Metaphor is so very clearly built on the RPG foundations of Shin Megami Tensei and Persona that to think otherwise is to simply deny facts. You live life through a daily calendar system as time marches on and the age of a new king draws nearer. Choosing how to spend your segmented afternoons and nights are as vital as making sure you take care of the main objectives that drives the story's major events. Thus, you find a balance between building bonds, progressing through monster-ridden dungeons, hitting the main quest's deadlines, and fitting all of that into a tight timeline. Compared to other Atlus joints, it's done with noticeably less filler, which keeps up a sense of momentum that makes sense in the context of the story. Metaphor wouldn't be complete without hard-nosed, turn-based combat. It largely uses the principles of the Shin Megami Tensei press turn system, where both your party and enemies are given turn icons, and exploiting elemental weaknesses awards extra actions. There's both a comfort in these familiar systems and an excitement in the way Metaphor changes things up. That is due in large part to archetypes, which is effectively a class-based job system that provides fun tools to fill different roles in your party of 4. It offers a level of flexibility not seen in other Atlus RPGs, because any party member can specialize in any of the archetypes, while also carrying skills over from others they've leveled up, and how you compose your party leads to wild possibilities in combat. Archetypes, synthesis attacks, and the dynamic of elemental affinities are layered with tried-and-true mechanics that have been either elevated or revised to create something fresh. Like those that came before it, Metaphor has a striking sense of style. You can see it clearly in the bombastic, Gothic-inspired menus and UI elements, but that ethos extends to its world and character designs too. Sure, Atlus is playing into the fantasy genre this time, but it is so distinctly of the studio's aesthetic, one you just don't see in other games. This unique, fantastical vibe is supported by excellent music. It's a heavily orchestral soundtrack with some wild opera-style vocals that create sort of a gravitas, whether you're stepping into a new city or ambushing a mob for the 100th time. Metaphor has the message, the gameplay, the style, and the music, but it also has the heart to make all of those core tenets truly sing together. I appreciate that it says all the right things about defying our circumstances and that collective action is what's going to uplift those who have fallen through the cracks, but it has the teeth to show that ideal is not clean or easy too. There's a certain familiarity in Metaphor ReFantazio, but Atlus takes the principles of its already excellent RPGs and refines them in a way that effortlessly ushers you through its brutal and sometimes beautiful new fantasy world. The archetype system and all the new wrinkles it added to the turn-based battles build upon a strong foundation, and the social elements are streamlined to better deliver the most important aspects of the story they tell. The sense of adventure you get from traveling across the kingdom and the powerful sense of purpose you have to do so drive its memorable journey, distinguishing itself from those that came before it. When I finally closed the book on Metaphor after 80 hours, I felt a unique warmth in its message, because it's driven by the ideals of a just society, smartly contextualized in a unique meta-narrative. Metaphor ReFantazio is poetic and, at times, idealistic, but it also understands its complexities and that change requires action, and that even far-fetched fantasy stories can serve as inspiration to make our world a better place. Metaphor ReFantazio's IGN score? 9 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest Metaphor ReFantazio updates, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.